In this video, I'm going to be sharing about the many reasons why you could not want sex. Maybe this is something in your life right now, you're just feeling a real lack of desire, a real lack of libido. Maybe you experienced high libido at some point and then it dropped off, there's a blockage. Or maybe you've never really felt that desire and you're wondering if you're asexual, or you're wondering, why did this shut off? Is there something wrong with me? Am I broken? First of all, you are not broken. There are many reasons why this energy can shut down inside of us or we cannot feel connected to it. So I'm going to talk about the 12 different reasons why this is and the 5 different ways that you can begin to wake this energy up inside of you. So, my name is Haley Friend Wilson, and I am a certified embodiment and somatic sexuality guide trained through the embodied psychosexual method created by Dr. Sayeda Desilets and the deep body model. And I have devoted the last 20 years of my life to the study and practice of embodiment, somatics, and sexuality. And I am overjoyed to be sharing with you some key learnings that I have gained both personally and professionally. So let's get into it. The number one reason why you could be feeling a lack of connection to your sexuality or your libido is from cultural or religious messaging that sexuality is bad, shameful, and wrong. So many of us grew up in a context where we gained that messaging. And because we are actually psychosexual beings, which means that our psychology actually affects the function of our body. And so if we are holding a definition that sexuality is bad and wrong and shameful, or a perception that it's bad or wrong or shameful, that is actually going to affect the function of our body. And so this is something that is really important to look at as the baseline of how did you grow up? What was the messaging around sexuality? And if you did receive that messaging, that could be affecting your ability to feel turn on and pleasure in your body. And the second reason, which is connected to the first, could be a belief that you're carrying that you're not actually worthy of experiencing pleasure. So a lot of this can happen a lot if we've received messaging that sexuality is bad or wrong, and then we begin to internalize that and believe that we're not actually worthy of experiencing pleasure. And if we believe that we're not worthy of experiencing pleasure, it's going to cut off our ability to feel desire and to feel our libido turned on. The third reason is having some kind of negative sexual experience. And this can be just from on many different levels. So on the base level of just like, that was awkward, didn't go well, to something more severe of a boundary being crossed that really didn't feel good, or even to the extreme of going through some kind of sexual abuse or sexual violation. All of these kinds of negative sexual experiences will contribute to a lack of desire, a lack of libido or turn on because of an underlying fear that maybe something will go wrong in the future. And if those experiences haven't been integrated or haven't been processed, and they're kind of still living inside of us in a way that hasn't been processed, that is going to affect our body's ability to feel open to pleasure and sexuality. The fourth reason is actually viewing any kind of violent rape scene on TV or on a movie, especially if you were really young. These kinds of images can really impact us. And if we see something that was violent in that capacity and begin to associate sexuality with something that is very violent and wrong and traumatizing, that can actually cause us to begin to shut down our sexuality in our body. And in that same vein, also, it could be maybe viewing some kind of extreme porn, that when, especially if we're really young and viewing some kind of scene that was really extreme and didn't land, which can easily happen because in a lot of really extreme porn, the people who are in these videos are acting and aren't actually in a state of pleasure, or there's a felt sense that maybe something that is going on isn't actually even fully consensual, or they don't actually, not all parties feel great about what's going on, and we can sense that because we're sensitive beings. So that can also cause you to shut down your own sexuality in your body. The next reason is saying yes when you actually are a no. I know this from personal experience, this one especially, of saying yes when my body was a no and not actually knowing how to listen to the signals of my body when my body was actually saying no, and going along with something when I wasn't a full yes to that experience. And then after a certain period of time of saying yes when your body is actually a no, your body is going to basically shut down that energy inside of you. It's like, okay, honey, we're going to actually take this energy offline because you are not handling this responsibly. And we're just going to shut it down because you're not acting in congruence with the signals that we, your body, are giving you. And so we're just going to take it offline. And this is extremely common. A lot of us, have a people pleaser mentality, or we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. It's very vulnerable. And so it can be really common to go along with the sexual experience when we're not a full yes. And eventually that is going to affect your libido, your desire, and your turn on. And in that same vein, also, maybe you were a yes to a sexual experience, but then maybe you started to feel pain, or it just didn't feel quite right, or you just, something was going in a way you didn't like, and you didn't feel empowered to speak up, and you didn't feel empowered to stop that or say no or let's change. That also is going to affect your libido. If you don't feel that sense of empowerment to speak up, or you've gone along with things that didn't feel great, then again, your body is going to be like, let's shut this down because you're not handling this well. Or just, it's going to affect your desire to have future experiences. If you've had experiences where it's just like, I just didn't go well, or I just didn't feel empowered to speak up about what I wanted or didn't want, then it's like, it's just easier to like not connect, right? So that is absolutely going to affect your libido. Also, I don't know what step we're on, which one we're on, is 6 or 7 or something, but the next one is not feeling empowered to ask for what you want, and maybe not even knowing what you want. This is absolutely going to affect your libido, your turn on, because if you feel like, you know what, I don't even actually know what I want. And maybe even if I did know what I want, I don't even feel like I would know how to ask for what I want. So that's all going to affect your ability to have a desire to want to go into a sexual experience if you feel like you don't even necessarily know what you want, because maybe you've had some good experiences, maybe you've had some negative experiences, and you're just kind of like, you know what? I don't even know. Maybe you've never had an experience where you've been able to discover what you want, that you've been able to be with someone who's safe and be in a process of exploration, of like, hey, let's go slow and let me actually feel into what I want. And maybe you've never had the opportunity to do that. And so again, that's going to shut down your body to being open to sexual engagement in the future if you don't feel empowered to really know what you want or ask for what you want. The next one is going through a breakup. If you've just recently gone through a breakup, it's really common to feel a drop in your libido and sexual desire after that, because it's a big emotional process. We're swimming in deep emotional waters, and we're probably processing what went well in that relationship, what didn't go well. There probably maybe or some themes around sexuality that maybe did or didn't feel good. And so it's really common for our body to just be in a more inward phase and to not feel a strong desire to connect sexually with even with ourselves or with someone else. And the next several things that I'm going to go into are more on the physical level, because one of the things that we work with in the embodied psychosexual method that I'm trained in is looking at all the different blockages that we hold within our sexuality on the psychological level, on the emotional level, and on the physical level, because we really have to look at all levels and layers of what can affect our ability to feel pleasure, to feel an authentic connection to our sexuality. And there are multiple levels and layers. We mainly just went over on the mental and emotional layer, and these are more on the physical layer. So, physically, if you are stressed, if you are working all the time, this is absolutely going to affect your libido and your turn on, because if your nervous system is in a fight or flight state, your body is literally not going to be producing the chemicals that you need to procreate, because your body is just in survival. It's like, we're not trying to procreate, we're just trying to survive. And so your body is not going to be producing those chemicals to feel a sense of libido and turn on. The next is actually consuming too much alcohol. Even though you might think like, oh, that like go out to a bar, have a drink, it loosens me up, makes me want to connect. And maybe even had an experience. I know I have, where, somebody has too much to drink and the sexual function was not happening. Okay, so alcohol is actually a killer to your libido, to your sexual function. And so if you're drinking too much, it's absolutely going to affect your body's ability to feel a sense of desire and turn on, or just function well. Okay. The next is actually if you are taking certain kinds of medication, if you're on pharmaceutical medication for some kind of symptom or illness that you're having in your life, make sure to check the side effects, because it is common for several medications for there to be a side effect of that medication causing low libido. So make sure to check into that if that is something that you have been experiencing and you've been wondering why. It could be from a medication that you are taking. The next one is not exercising. This is huge, because literally when we exercise, we're moving the blood in our body. Our body is creating chemicals like oxytocin that actually feed our body's ability to create the hormones that we need for our libido and our turn on to be functioning. So exercise is huge. If you're not exercising regularly, that can absolutely affect your libido. Next is if your diet is off, if you are eating a ton of sugar, if you're eating really heavy foods, if you're eating fried foods, if you're eating a lot, all of that is really going to affect your sexual function, because our digestion and our gut actually is responsible for the optimal functioning of our entire body and especially our sexual organs, because they're so closely connected. So if we're not digesting well, if we're eating a ton, our sexual organs are not going to be functioning properly. So part of having a healthy libido is actually eating a clean diet that boosts your gut health and your overall wellness. Last but not least is pelvic tension. So this is really common in this era that we're living in, where is very sedentary. Many of us are seated for long hours, or driving or working on computer, whatever it is. All of that really affects our sexual function, because if you're sitting for long periods of time and you're in your not relaxed or not sitting properly, you're going to begin to create pelvic tension. And then if you're not doing anything to relieve that tension through breath work or different embodiment or stretching practices, all of that tension in your pelvis is going to begin to accumulate more and more. And that is also going to affect your sexual function and libido. That was a lot. So, all that to say, there are so many reasons. There are so many reasons why you could be feeling a lack of desire to experience sexuality. And maybe it's all of the above. Maybe you grew up in a culture or religion that told you sexuality is bad, shameful, and wrong. Maybe you had some negative experiences. Maybe you're stressed out and working a ton. Maybe you're not exercising, drinking too much because you're working a lot and you're stressed out. I know I can relate to this. When I went through a period of time where I really didn't feel any libido at all, I've also gone through negative sexual experiences that I hadn't fully integrated and processed. I was stressed. I was drinking to cope with the stress. I was eating all kinds of sugar. I was not exercising. Like a lot of times, like all those things kind of go together, right? And so then it's like, maybe all that's going on. You're like, why don't I want to have sex? It's like, oh, of course you don't. Like it's not your fault. You got to just look at what's going on in your life and begin to take the steps to change it. Because the really great thing about understanding why you might be experiencing this, it also means that you can be empowered to begin to shift these things. And so that's what we're going to go into now. And the first way is actually to shake. So I'm not going to stand up because we got this whole setup with the mic. But after this video, I'll encourage you to put on a song and just shake and like shake, shake, shake. Shaking is actually the best way to begin to release tension, not only physically, but also emotionally, especially if you let sounds out. And also any kind of mental stress. Literally shaking is the most amazing embodiment practice. If I were to say it was one thing you could do every day that's going to increase your sexuality, vitality, health, well-being, shake. Shake, 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 just really shake everything. And it also helps to get out of our mind because like if we get too serious, our eroticism hates seriousness. Erotic energy likes playfulness, lightness. And so when we shake, like just be silly, like shake it, shake it, shake, 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 shake. It helps to lighten the mood. It helps to release that seriousness. If this has been this thing that you've been frustrated about and it's been this topic for you and you're like, what I like, just shake it out, let it go. Like, gotta bring a little bit more lightness and play. That's gonna be a really crucial thing just to start there. And then after you do that shaking practice, and you can actually just do this with me now. This is my favorite practice for regulating the nervous system is just petting the body. So you can do this on the chest, or you can also do on both arms. So deep breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then beginning to talk to yourself and give yourself compassion. So if this is something that has been a struggle for you, and you feel a lot of kind of emotional weight around it, just being like, it's okay. Yeah, it's been hard. It's been really hard to feel a blockage here or to never feel able. I've never felt able to connect with it. Really acknowledge that. And then just let yourself know, but right now we're learning. We're learning how to connect with this energy in an authentic way, because the very first step of beginning to connect with our sexuality in an authentic way is creating a feeling of safety in the body so that the body feels like a safe place to reside. So doing this practice is a really great way to begin to create that feeling, that felt sense of safety in the body. Okay, now we're going to go into the 5 different ways that you can begin to wake up this energy inside of your body. And the first way is through acceptance. Acceptance, non-judgment, really acknowledging, hey, I'm in a phase right now in my life where I'm not feeling connected to this. And that's completely normal. It's actually completely normal and natural to go through different phases in our life where we feel a drop in libido for many different reasons. It can also be from a health issue. I don't think I added that in there, but illness, having kids. Those are more reasons. There's a lot of different reasons why we can feel a lack of desire, sexual desire. And so just being in a place of acceptance of like, this is where I'm at right now. And maybe if you've never felt that, just accepting that maybe you've never had the right circumstance or environment to be able to discover your sexuality in an authentic way. And that doesn't mean that you can't in the future, and just accepting, hey, I've never been able to connect with this, but that doesn't mean that defines my future. So really just being in that place of pure acceptance and non-judgment. And I feel like I added one more thing in with the non-judgment. Yeah, just that it's normal. It's normal. Don't trip out. Don't trip out about it. Don't make it a bigger thing that it has to be, because again, like psychosexual, if we start to be like so make it so serious or get like so dramatic about it, it's going to affect our ability to reconnect. So just be in a place of acceptance, not judgment. It's normal. It's okay. Take a deep breath. Number 2 is to investigate, really to take a moment to investigate what your upbringing, what were the messages that you received around sexuality from your upbringing, from your family, from your religion or culture, and also any experiences that you've had, beginning to investigate your own relationship with your sexuality. And I just want to say with this that a caveat that if you feel that maybe you have had some traumatic sexual experiences in your past, that this step 2, is maybe something that you want to do with a practitioner who works in the realm of sexuality, somatic sexuality, embodied sexuality, anything that someone who's trained and understands how to walk you through that investigation. Because I know for myself, when I've gone into that, sometimes you're going to encounter certain memories or certain experiences that feel hard to be with, and that could be really important to have support going into that investigation. So I just want to say that. But either way, investigating and really looking, being like, okay, let's see what's here. And you can start with just a simple journal exercise, just focusing on the cultural messaging, religious or family messaging around sexuality, and beginning to kind of look at what that was and how that might be impacting your own relationship to your sexuality today. Step number 3 to begin to wake this energy back up is to recreate. So the beautiful thing about being human is that we're malleable, we're mutable, we're not fixed. We can change, we can evolve. And so begin to breathe into possibility that you can have a really beautiful, amazing, fulfilling relationship with your sexuality, with your desire and your turn on. And it starts with saying, all right, how do I recreate this? After you've done your investigation, okay, this is what's been. How do I want sexuality to be? And this can look a lot of different ways. So for me, that looks like really rewiring my beliefs of what I believe about sexuality. Like, being really conscious and saying, actually, what I believe, not what society has fed me, but what I believe about sexuality is this is literally the most sacred energy that lives inside our body. That this sexuality is for me a way to experience the divine within myself and in connection with somebody else. That it is literally the most sacred way to commune with myself and with someone else. So, recreating this definition around sexuality for myself, that sexuality is sacred, is literally the most sacred energy in our bodies, and that we can share with someone else. And that really shifted my own experience of my sexuality, is shifting that belief. And so for you, in your process of recreation, this could look many ways. It could be shifting your beliefs. It could be saying, you know what, I'm in a process of discovery, and allowing yourself to be in that process of discovery of, I don't know what sexuality is for me, but I'm open to discovering that. I'm open to beginning to feel into that. Another thing in this realm is, for me, was learning about ecosexuality, because I feel that sense of my erotic energy comes alive a lot in nature. And when I began to hear about this concept and learn about this concept, this really helped me to connect more with my sexuality. So maybe for you, it's like, okay, I'm in a process of discovery around this, and I don't know yet what I believe or what I want, but I can allow myself to be open and curious. It could also look like maybe you do have an interest, for instance, in sacred sexuality, and you might want to get a book or look up some other videos on YouTube around sacred sexuality and begin to investigate what that is. Or maybe you're curious about BDSM and kink, and you want to begin to learn in that world or play in that world, or just maybe talk to a friend who's really sexual empowered that you know, and have a conversation with them about what their journey around their sexuality has been. So let this be fun. Let this be an exploration of what your new relationship to your sexuality could be. And really, I encourage you here to be creative. And we're gonna get to that in the last step. But before then, this is the most crucial step, y'all. If you don't do anything else but this one, number 4, connect with your genitals. So most of us have not been taught that our genitals are actually conscious. Yes, it's true. It's true, true, true. They hold a consciousness. And there is actually a direct connection between our heart and our genitals. And we want to bring our mind actually in there as well. So this practice is actually beginning to do a writing practice with your genitals, where you write a letter to your genitals and you say, hey, whatever you want to say. For me, this was like, hey, I'm sorry I've ignored you for most of my life. I'm sorry for, not hearing your no. I'm sorry for, forcing you into things that you really didn't want to do. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. Like, I want to listen now. I want to connect. And really suspend like this mental judgment of like, or this thing of like, how can I talk to like, I'm just telling you, I know deeply with every fiber of my being that your genitals hold a consciousness. And if you can begin to orient yourself that way of, how can I actually treat this area of my body with deep respect and with a willingness to listen to the voice that is held in the root of my body. And then take the pen and then pretend that your genitals take the pen and start to write to you. And again, this is one of those things, you got to suspend the mind that is going to be like, your genitals can't talk, and just be like, no, just trust what flows out. And again, this can be a process. I will tell y'all, for myself, what this looked like when I first started this practice 15 years ago, and I was writing, I was like, dear Yoni, da 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 da, gave her the pen. And you know what she said? She was like, fuck you. Fuck you. Now you want to talk? You've been ignoring me for the last decade. And now you want to talk? No. No. Mm-mm. So like, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. But you know what I did? I showed up every day, because this is about building trust. You have to rebuild trust with your body, especially if you've been in a scenario where you were shutting down your no, where you were consenting to things that you weren't a full yes to, where you were in pain, all of that. So it's a process of rebuilding that trust with your body. So for me, it looked like every single day, every single morning, sitting down and writing that. And then pretty soon, my yoni began to speak to me, and she began to say, all right, and I could ask questions like, or just even saying like, what do you want to say? Like, what do you want me to know? Like, how can I be better? How can I do better? And she began to talk to me and say like, stop eating sugar. Ask for slower sex. Ask for more softness, and beginning to basically coach me. My pussy was my coach. And she was like, okay, this is what you need to do. And this is actually what I love about this model that I'm trained in, the embodied psychosexual method. Is a big part of what we do with people is like getting you to connect with your body and the answers of your body. So we do not work in the way that's prescriptive of like, oh, if you have pain with sex, do this. Or if you have erectile dysfunction, which we don't even believe in sexual dysfunction is a thing. I'll get into that in a different video. But is your body's trying to speak to you. Your body's trying to speak to you, and you just don't know how to listen. And so for every single person, the reason why you're having that symptom is going to be different. And I can't tell you what that is for you. Only your body can tell you. And so beginning to build that trust with your body and to be able to listen to your body about how you can begin to be in right relation and truly come into an embodied sexuality that feels really good and really authentic. And what's beautiful is that when you start to build this connection with your genitals, you begin to really quickly feel into a no feels like a shutting down. It feels like a contraction. A yes feels like an expansion. A yes feels like things are working, things are flowing. A no is like, okay, like it's not working, it's not flowing. There's something going on here. Instead of just bypassing my body, let me listen to what's going on. So step number 4 is crucial. If you only do one thing, this will change your sexual life. So right to your genitals. So a big thing that this practice. Number 5 is spark creativity. So this is a big thing that this practice of the dialogue with your genitals, it actually creates an intimacy with yourself. And when we can create that intimacy with ourselves, that creates a deeper sense of safety. And again, like I mentioned midway through, when we can create a real felt sense of safety and intimacy in our body, that is when our body is going to feel safe enough to open to pleasure. And so understanding that is actually within our hands. We have the power to do that for ourselves. And that's part of sexual sovereignty. If you're not sure what that is, you can check out my video on sexual sovereignty, is understanding that we are sovereign and responsible for actually our sexuality. So when we do these practices that create a deeper sense of intimacy with ourselves and safety in our body, it actually does open our body to being available to experience pleasure, either that with ourselves or with somebody else. And now, the last thing that you can do to begin to wake up this energy inside of you is to spark your creativity, because our creativity is very connected to our sexuality. They come from the same source, the same fuente in our body. And so this can be a doorway in to waking up your libido and your desire that it maybe doesn't feel connected, but it will have that impact. I know that has been the case in my life. And so anything that sparks you creatively, sing, dance, write a poem, do a theater thing, make a song, just any creative project that you've had, begin to pour your energy into that and just notice Notice what's happened. Notice the sensations in your body when you begin to engage in that creativity. And you can also, and this is what I've done, actually use your creativity with the intention of whatever it is that you are creating has the intention of creating a connection with your sexuality. So, for instance, making a dance this, even if you don't feel aroused or turned on, or you don't feel that energy inside of you, like, how would I dance if this energy were flowing through me, and imagining that dance, or maybe making a dance of this energy being shut down and then slowly it begins to evolve and transmute and open. Or maybe painting a picture of what colors actually just spark a sense of arousal for me, or what shapes, or what sounds or melodies, or maybe if I were to write a poem to my sexuality and about how our relationship has been and how I want it to be, so there's a lot of different ways that you can take this around how your creativity can be a medium to begin to wake up this energy inside of you. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. I deeply hope that this video has served you in coming home to yourself and your sexuality in a deeper way. And I want to acknowledge that I am recording this video on the indigenous land of the Nauvoo and Mexica people as a way to show my honor and respect for the indigenous people of this land that I reside on today. And I wish you a really gentle, beautiful exploration of your sexuality. I'm going to be putting out my next video is how to talk about sex. So if you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, but now I need to know how to actually communicate, that's coming up next. If you feel a resonance with my energy and you are wanting to go deeper into opening up an embodied experience of your sexuality, I have 3 more spaces in my embodied sexuality program. Check the link below. We can have a call and see if it feels like a good fit for both of us to work together. If you want to have more short form content and also follow my creative journey, which I continue to pour into as part of my own exploration of my sexuality, of my body, my creativity, you can follow me on Instagram at Creativity as Love. And thank you. Thank you for taking this in. Please like, subscribe. If this did something good for you, it really helps me. Share it with a friend. And wishing you the fullest expression of your creativity, sexuality, and vitality.